what part of the ecosystem, what size of companies, what kind of problems do you want to see fixed here?
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Yeah, it was a bit of a challenging fundraising environment now versus prior years, of course. But for us, we're hyper-focused on early-stage Web3 venture capital. I know Web3 also is maybe a word that isn't as common on this program than in the last few years. But the thing that excites us the most is basically this sort of duality in our industry, where on the one hand, we've been in sort of this prolonged bear market for a couple years, but we're starting to see all this upswing in terms of prices and surge of interest from the ETF inflows, regulatory clarity around the world. But the thing that excites us the most is that fundamental usage is still growing and still doing really well. So there's millions of people using blockchains and using Web3 around the world. DeFi and stablecoins are a real killer use case, so they're a highlight. And our job is to invest, and goal is to invest in sort of the infrastructure that's being built right now that can catapult these use cases to the mainstream over a multi-year period.
Might surprise you to know that we do have the odd person on talking Web3 from time to time. A lot of them in your portfolios, or indeed some unicorns that you've backed in the previous years, Alex. The reason we turn to you is because you do have experience. You have backed some winners. I think of Avalanche. I think of what's happening with DYDX. I think of some of the protocols that you've been in, and indeed some of the intersections of Web3 and crypto and DeFi, and ultimately artificial intelligence. How are you thinking about access to compute now when you're backing companies like Crusoe Cloud or a Jasper AI when it comes to application of generative AI?
Yep, it's a probably multi-trillion-dollar topic right now. So I think broadly where we are in the space is sort of like the mid-90s equivalent of where the internet was, is where we are in crypto today, which is to say like a lot of users and a lot of things happening, but the experience of using crypto is really poor from an infrastructure perspective. It's like slow, it's insecure, there's hacks happening all the time and thefts and things like that. And then the one that the area you're talking about, which I think is really huge too, is this question about how Web3 can help support AI and the reverse. What Web3 does really, really well is it provides like democratized access to, when it comes to Bitcoin or DeFi, it provides democratized access to financial services, and people around the world can get access to dollars and lending and things like that. But the other thing it does really well is democratize access to resources, right? And so one area that's really interesting in crypto AI specifically is this opportunity to basically provide AI compute, like GPUs, higher in the chip stack, to AI startups and AI developers around the world. That's something that blockchains are great at. There's already several multi-billion-dollar companies in the blockchain industry, like Crusoe Cloud, which is in our extended portfolio, and CoreWeave, a few others, that are basically they started as Bitcoin mining companies and they provided cheap compute, and it was also very climate friendly. You would get compute and you would get energy from like in a very cheap way from Exxon and Chevron that was being wasted, and you would use it to provide power that would support like the Bitcoin ecosystem and mining. But now a lot of these companies are also providing AI compute, and it's democratized, so we can live in a world now, I hope, once it's successful, where it's not just OpenAI and Microsoft that hog all the AI compute and the GPUs.